So, yeah, I'm from the US. I'm thrilled to be here today. Thank you. It's nice to meet you all virtually. How many of you out there enjoy a good sci fi? If you do, put one of your favorite fiction titles in the chat. Now, don't worry, you're in the right place. This really is a story about testing failures. It is one leader's journey across the testing galaxy. As Lily already introduced me, I'm a QA lead for Flex Rental Solutions. The majority of our clients are in the audiovisual industry. So they put on all kinds of concerts and events. In fact, our clients did all of the staging and effects for the weekend Super Bowl 2021 halftime show. So that gives you an idea of the type of rentals we're involved in. Testing is actually my second IT career, and my education is in computer science and business management. Today, I'll be talking about the failures of, in the areas of, uh-oh, there we go, team building, tools, and leadership. In my testing galaxy, our biggest challenge is, wait for it, test coverage. I'm sure I'm not alone. We have a big tech debt. Now, we all know that 100% test coverage is really science fiction, right? It's just not possible. But in the small company I work for, with a small test team, the focus is and always has been on getting the next release out. And it makes perfect sense from the business standpoint. When I started with Flex, there were no automated tests and only a handful of test cases. Honestly, it's often felt kind of like I was stealing time to work on test cases and automated tests of any kind. I'm trying to change that, and we are making progress. But for now, I'm still failing. Now, shortly before I started preparing this talk, I saw a presentation by the fabulous Erica Chestnut, where she blended her messages with a story, and it was fabulous. So I decided to attempt a similar approach with this presentation. I hope you like it. Here we go. Let me introduce you to some characters, let me introduce you to some characters that are joining us on our journey through the testing galaxy. After all, trips are always more fun with friends, right? Now, this story comes from a science fiction movie, and all of the credit goes to Paramount. Galaxy Quest was a popular television series at one time. Here's the cast. Front and center, you'll see Commander Peter Quincy Taggart. The Galaxy Quest series was so popular that their fans turned out at 18 annual conventions to meet the cast of characters. At one such convention, representatives of an alien race called the Thermians arrived to ask their heroes for help. In the front is their leader, Mathazar. Now, the Thermians believed that the television production was true, that they were true accounts of real life events. They called the programs historical documents. The reality was that scripts were written and actors portrayed all these parts in the make believe stories of Galaxy Quest. Well, one thing led to another, and the crew of washed up actors reluctantly end up on an actual spaceship that was built based on these historical documents of Galaxy Quest. The Thermians wanted help from the crew to fight against their enemy, Ceres. Ceres wants to wipe out the entire Thermian race. He thinks they're just too simple. Now, clearly, these groups were not on the same page. We'll get back to them. As far as humans go, I believe that we are the most productive and effective when we work as a team. It's easier said than done, though, right? Humans are complicated. We're fascinating, but complicated. And each of us is as unique as the stars in the galaxy. I'm going to share some of my do's and don'ts here. So on the do side, we have listen, actively listen, be helpful, give compliments and kudos. I want my team to know that I appreciate them. Be honest, own your mistakes, be respectful, ask questions, and learn from each other regardless of your position, regardless of your financial statement, regardless of your degree. In fact, I'm actually convinced that I can learn something from every single person I meet, including you. Some of my do's are don't blame, don't accuse. These two behaviors will only breed discontent. Don't be too perfect because others find that really unapproachable. Don't assume the worst. And if you're trying to build a team, don't turn everything into a competition. Well, Saris is definitely not a team player. He's a mean green reptilian machine, and I would not want to work with him. On my team, I encourage collaboration. Different points of view can make us better testers. Collaboration can be more efficient, and sometimes it saves time. Collaboration and working like a team kind of go hand in hand. It can be much more effective. So, team building is also something I invest in, especially when a new team member joins us. I was inspired by a presentation given by the one and only Jenny Bramble. Her topic was gamification, and she discussed ways to incorporate games in the workplace. Now, in my personal life, leading groups outside of work, I had already learned the value of keeping your mind busy working on creative tasks. That type of activity frees up our minds to be prepared for different conversations and ideas. So, this idea of gamification made a lot of sense to me. Okay, Jenny, challenge accepted. I was thinking about games and remembered that in the summertime, when I was a little girl, I followed my father around and helped him with the garden. On really hot summer days, my dad would drink a beer. When he took that cap off and turned it over, there was a picture puzzle on the inside. We took turns solving those. Well, this seemed like a fun, easy way to boost my team's creativity by playing this kind of a game. So I did what anybody would do. I Googled it. Yep, that's it. And found some of these puzzles online. Let me show you a quick example. Can you guess what this puzzle represents? You can see the hands, and the clock represents time. So the solution here is time on my hands. I'll share just one more, and if you know the answer, put it in the chat. I'll give you a few seconds. Did you get it? I'm thinking. Time to exit out. Close, close, close. I'll give you a hint. The face is an ache. He has an ache. So it's, perfect. Kirsty got it. Good job, Kirsty. All right. So at one of our team meetings, we discussed the business at hand, and then I introduced my team to the game. They liked the idea, and we played for about 15 minutes is all. And guess what? The phrases used in these puzzles were not familiar to my tester from Mexico. English is his second language, and many of the phrases were simply not known to him. I felt so bad. Like the cast members of Galaxy Quest and the Thermians, we didn't have a common understanding. And it was my fault. I had failed. Well, I have another example from Earthlings today about communication faux pas. Do you know any teenagers? I happen to have one here at home. Imagine if your coworkers use text phrases the way our teenagers do. Are any of these familiar to you? Take a quick look. Now, the SYS, S-Y-S, see you soon, for me, that meant system. And I kind of like RAK, random act of kindness. That's kind of fun. But I'd really rather not see the PIR or the mom over shoulder one on my 17-year-old's phone. That wouldn't be good. But it's not just our teenagers that use these slang phrases. We've all seen coworkers using those kinds of phrases in our Slack channels and Teams channels, haven't we? It's the same with acronyms. When we are communicating with our coworkers, we need to use familiar language that everyone understands. In fact, we might be unintentionally disincluding someone or leaving someone behind if we don't. The responsibility is on the person presenting the message. So ensure that you have a common understanding. Back to Galaxy Quest, the lack of a common understanding put the alien population in grave danger. They were literally putting their lives in the hand of this group of actors. The Thermians were an innocent population, and the idea of a lie was completely foreign to them until Ceres came along. He taught them about lying. Can you imagine what our world would be like if lies were not a part of our reality? Wow, that'd be so different. At the beginning of the story, the innocent Thermians did an amazing thing. They asked for help. Now, the Galaxy Quest cast members might not have been prepared or even thought of themselves as capable, but here's what happened. They kind of liked these Thermians. They didn't want Ceres to hurt them, so when blasts from the enemy ship damaged theirs, they became resourceful. When people are allowed the opportunity to step up to a task, they are often surprised to find out what they are actually capable of. Now, those blasts from the enemy ship fractured the beryllium sphere that powered their ship. What are your beryllium spheres? What are the must-haves that make your organization work? The crew managed to find a planet nearby with a beryllium sphere mine or beryllium mine. So they landed the shuttle near the mine and found a replacement. When the miners discovered them stealing, however, they had a fight on their hands. Like the crew members and most testers, I look for solutions in my quest for quality. We use the Jira tracking system. I'm sure you're familiar with it. Over the past several years, I had requested a separate Jira project for QA to use. You see, a separate project would allow our team to monitor our internal tests with a workflow that was appropriate for us and our work. Since I didn't have admin rights, though, I couldn't complete the task without help. I believe in making our tools work for us, and the existing workflows did not match ours, not even close. Well, my requests were unsuccessful. I failed a few times. So my team continued to use Jira as it was because that's what we had. It wasn't working very well for us, so I asked for a separate project one more time recently. My request was granted. In fact, when I asked, my coworker said, "Hey, good timing. I was going to talk to you about that." So what changed? Well, the process to create a new Jira project hadn't changed at all. Our needs really hadn't changed. The one thing that was different was that our non-conforming Jira issues muddied up the project view for our coworkers. So by persevering and forging ahead with the tool we had, things became less comfortable for others. Discomfort often breeds change. Let's get back to the crew. After the new beryllium sphere was in place, someone had to work their way through the belly of the ship and through a dangerous set of chompers in order to restart the core again. Otherwise, the ship would just float around in space. The chompers are these huge, powerful metal cylinders and blocks that slam together with great force. Can you guess what happened next? Captain Taggart asked for help. Isn't that what the Thermians did at the beginning of this story? Let me point out right here that in an organization where leaders are willing to reach out and ask for help, You will very likely find that the employees at all levels are willing to do the same. Modeling a behavior is a very powerful action. So ask yourself, what are you modeling in your organization? Think about that. Captain Taggart reached out to Brandon for help. They had met at one of the Xander conferences. And Brandon loved Galaxy Quest. He studied it thoroughly. He basically memorized his favorite show. He knew more about Galaxy Quest than any of the actors that worked on the show. Brandon and his friends knew the code to safely maneuver through those dreaded chompers. Now, stepping through the maze reminds me a little bit of a time in my own test galaxy. We called our maze a search for test tools. I'm sure you've heard of it before. A while back, we were reviewing different test tools and working with a new API test framework. During that process, everyone was encouraged to experiment. This was a learning process, so there was very little structure. Our API test suite is still moving along very well, but slowly, but we're moving. And I'm going to be honest with you, I wasn't very excited about using a test tool that records steps. It's just not my preference. I like to code. I didn't like the idea of spending company funds on this kind of a tool when we could build our own test cases internally. And we could have run as many tests as we wanted at no additional charge. But tools are priced for a reason. My superior wanted us to choose a test tool with the recorder feature. As time went on, it became really clear that I just wasn't going to convince him otherwise. Okay. For me, it kind of felt like a failure because a lot of this stemmed from the fact that my superior didn't have enough confidence in our existing UI suite. From that perspective, I failed. I guess I didn't sell it well enough or convince him in some way. Basically, though, I had to get on board. So our team settled on a test tool called Testim. In Testim, there are two ways to create tests. They can be recorded or coded in the IDE. Now, due to competing priorities, I actually haven't even had a chance to code one yet, but I will. I worked with my tester to block out time on our calendars so there'd be at least some time dedicated to this effort. Now, I do give credit where credit's due. Thanks to Testim, we have shortened the amount of time it takes to get through our end-to-end pre-release tests. You probably call it regression testing. We call it pre-release testing. Anyway, it's made a significant difference for us. The experimental test creation in Testim still continued. I also steered my team toward building new test cases or modifying existing test cases as part of our definition of done for each Jira issue. This was a big step for us. We are a small company, a small team. We have limited resources, but my team grabbed onto this and ran with it, and it was really exciting to watch. As a side note, between 6 and 7 months, I guess, we have multiplied our number of test cases by a factor of 13, and we still continue that effort today. I couldn't be happier with the work our testers have accomplished here. They've done a great job. In the meantime, I was evaluating our overall test coverage. Here's what I found. I saw a group of new Testim tests that didn't belong at the UI layer. They belonged at the API layer. I had failed to set up a way to specify where we should test different things. I also saw some Testim tests popping up that were of a very low priority in the grand scheme. They were created as a result of recent work with Jira. And we had a lot of tests to build with limited time. I had failed to prioritize our automated tests. With limited resources, it was even more imperative that we build tests for the highest risk areas first. Well, I knew this had to change. So we changed the way we were tracking our automated tests by adjusting Jira and our process. I generated separate Jira issues for automated test development and assigned each of them a priority. This way, we can work to the highest priority first. We also added peer reviews to our test case design process. That way, there are at least two sets of eyes on each test case. We discuss where it belongs and how it should be done. When I need to make changes, I pull my team together as much as possible. We step through the process together. Walking through processes in this manner provides the opportunity for teaching, practicing, and learning. This also empowers each team member in a way that helps them support the outcome. If I'm not able to include my testers in a process change, I ask for their help on pertinent tasks and explain why. The why allows people to build into the work. I'll say it again. The why allows people to buy into the work. If you're with me here, let me know in chat. How many times have you been asked to complete a task without any explanation at all? The term barking orders kind of comes to mind. Let me ask you another question. Do those requests make you feel like a valued team member? Typically not. When the reasoning behind a task is provided up front, people can more easily get behind the work. I see you in there. See you in the chat. Yeah, it's hard. But when the reasoning is behind a task is provided up front, people can more easily get behind the work. It's just human nature. So let's work with that human nature. Let's use it to our advantage rather than fighting it. Enlist others to help you succeed. Allow others to take part so they can gain something from experience. This is a form of empowerment. Well, we're near the end of the Galaxy Quest story, but our testing story still has a long way to go. This lighthearted sci-fi is full of ups and downs and amusing things. It's hilarious. I only shared highlights of this story with you today because I didn't want to spoil it for you. I will say that Galaxy Quest has a device called the Omega 13. Now, I'm not going to tell you what it does, but the Omega 13 provides exactly what our crew members need to protect the Thermians from Ceres. If you had an Omega 13 that could provide exactly what you need to be successful in your testing galaxy, what would that be? What problem would it solve? The cast of Galaxy Quest become heroes, and so did those that help them. It's kind of like when your team comes together to solve a problem. Your entire team gets to celebrate that win together. The heroic experience rejuvenated the actors so much that their roles were reprised and Galaxy Quest went on the air again for many more seasons. And the Thermians were saved from extinction. This is my kind of movie because I love a happy ending. In summary, get to know your team. We can have the best intentions as leaders, but we need to take time to understand our teammates' cultural backgrounds, learning styles, and simple preferences in order to build an effective team. Ensure that you use a common language in order to ensure a common understanding. Use of common language improves the quality of software and the effectiveness of teams. And be resourceful, forge ahead, use your tools as effectively as possible. And remember, sometimes discomfort is necessary to bring about change. Model the behaviors that you want to see in your organization. And test leaders, don't go it alone. You are stronger managers and more effective leaders when you empower your team to help you succeed. And don't be afraid to ask for help from outside your team when needed. Face the challenges, find strategies to build up your teams, work with test tools, and most importantly, your teammates on your journey across the testing galaxy. We're not done failing yet, because we have more to learn. Never give up, never surrender. Thank you, Test Tribe.